Here's what it looks like to use Prefab for secret management. Prefab secret management is CLI based, so I'm going to run the prefab command. And now let's create a secret. I'm going to do the stripe secret key, and that's a string, and the value is sktest123. We did it. We can check and see that it's encrypted by saying prefab info and looking for our stripe key, and we'll see there the value is encrypted. Prefab does not know what the value is, but when it comes out in your clients, they will decrypt it. We can test this with prefab get and then stripe sktest123. This is the code that all of the clients are going to run in order to decrypt it. Of course, that's the value for default development and production right now. We need to set the value for production separately. So we'll say prefab again, and we'll say set the default for the stripe secret key, and we'll do it in production, and we'll say sk live 456. So that's it. We have now set our stripe key both in default environments and then a different one in the production environment. All of our other developers on our team, in whatever language they're in, can now use this key. They don't have to share in any .env files or really do anything else. It will just be there and it will decrypt along with the rest of their secrets. So how does the CLI and the different SDKs know what key to do the encryption and decryption with? Well, for this, they look at another prefab config value. And the name of that prefab config is prefab secrets encryption key. So this is just a regular config, but it's a type of prefab config that is set via an environment variable. So by default, we are going to have it set by the environment variable prefab secret key default. And then in production, we'll look at a different environment variable. You could name these things the same, but it makes it easier locally to have two different environment variables because you're going to need both of those environment variables set so that from your local CLI, you can set both default and staging values and also the production value. Of course, you don't need to share both of these keys with everyone on your team. If you only want certain individuals to be able to encrypt and decrypt your production keys, then you can only share that environment variable with them, and that will work just fine. So your local env will look something like this. You'll have your prefab API key, which will be your development key. This is tied to you as a developer. And then you'll have a secret key default and secret key production. You do need to get these shared around with the other individuals on your team, but this is essentially the last password that they will need, and then adding any other API keys, rotating any third-party API keys, all of that will happen without sharing anything between all of your local developer.env files. So the last thing we need to do to set up, and you only need to do this one time for an organization, but we do need to create that prefab secret encryption key. So we can just do prefab, and we're going to create an envar here. So we'll call it prefab secret encryption key, and we will get it from prefab secret key default. String set. Now we'll say that in production, we want to get it from the other environment variable. So we'll say prefab again, and we'll say set default envar for the secret encryption key. We'll say that it should use prefab secret key production in production. Perfect. We'll want to set some actual values that are good encryption keys. You can use the prefab tool to generate some new hex keys here. Then we can paste those into our .env here and generate another one and paste that in here. So once again, now when we go and do prefab create secret, it will pull this key that is not shared with prefab. We'll use that to encrypt the value, push the encrypted value up to prefab, and then we need to get this value deployed to our servers so that they can decrypt the value. As I said, the prefab secret encryption key is also just a regular config value. It's a config value that is provided by environment variables. And so we can see that here, that the prefab secret encryption key is provided by this, and then the production one in production is this. We could go in and edit this or create this right in the UI if we didn't want to use the CLI as well. So that's a look at getting started with Prefab Secret Management. You can share secrets with your entire team. You can share secrets between a Node app, a Java app, a Rails app, whatever you like, all living happily together.